In 1958, a Danish carpenter's son filed a patent for a small plastic tube inside a toy brick. That single tube is the reason a piece made in 1958 still locks perfectly into a piece made in 2026. It is also the reason this company now produces an estimated 36 billion bricks a year, roughly 5 for every person on the planet, and sits on a brand valuation over $8 billion. To understand how one patent built an empire, you have to go back further to a man who had nothing left to lose. Ole Kirk Christiansen was a carpenter in a small Danish town when the Great Depression destroyed his business. With almost no capital left, he started carving small wooden toys just to keep his workshop from closing entirely. He called the company Lego, from the Danish phrase "leg godt," meaning play well. For nearly 20 years, that's all it was, one of dozens of small European toy workshops, with no reason to expect it would outlive its founder. Then, in 1947, Christensen made a decision that his own retailers openly mocked him for. He bought one of the first plastic injection molding machines in Denmark, at a time when plastic toys were considered cheap and inferior to wood. He ignored the criticism. 11 years later, his son Godfred filed the patent that changed everything. A tube and stud locking system that made every brick, from every set, from every era, permanently compatible with every other brick. That compatibility is the real product Lego has been selling ever since. Turning that patent into a global business required capital most competitors couldn't justify. A single modern injection molding machine can cost anywhere from an estimated $50,000 to several $100,000, and Lego now runs thousands of them. Add factory space, steel molds machined to a tolerance of about 10 microns, thinner than a human hair, and a logistics network spanning multiple continents, and you get a barrier to entry that has quietly protected Lego from serious competition for decades. Anyone trying to copy the brick can buy a mold. Almost no one can match the precision at this scale. That precision is also what makes the business model work. Lego isn't really selling toys, it's selling permanence. Every brick a child owns adds value to the next set they buy, instead of competing with it. Classic building sets remain the foundation, but licensed franchises, Star Wars, Marvel, Harry Potter, now drive a significant share of revenue, often at higher price points than original Lego lines. Above that sits Lego Technic, aimed at teenagers and adults, with sets running hundreds of dollars and featuring working gears and motors. Then there's the media layer: video games, a theme park licensing deal, and a movie franchise. The 2014 Lego Movie earned an estimated $500 million worldwide and functioned as a 2-hour advertisement that pulled adults who'd shelved their bricks years earlier straight back into stores. None of that comes cheap. A single new brick shape can require a steel mold costing over $50,000, and large sets need dozens of unique molds. Licensing a franchise like Star Wars means paying royalties on every unit sold, quietly eating into margins that look far higher from the outside than they are on the balance sheet. And the 10-micron tolerance isn't a marketing detail, it's mechanical necessity. Bricks have to click together firmly, then pull apart easily, millions of times without cracking or loosening. Hitting that standard across billions of units a year demands constant machine calibration most manufacturers never attempt. The operational discipline behind that number is staggering. Across factories in Denmark, Hungary, Mexico, and China, an estimated 18 bricks out of every million fail to meet quality standards. That failure rate is part of why parents keep trusting the brand decade after decade, set after set, and why a toy that costs far more per gram than almost any competitor's plastic still sells. The premium price survives because of something harder to manufacture than plastic: a documented link between open-ended building play and improved spatial reasoning, cited by researchers including psychologist Kathy Hirsch-Pasek in studies on constructive play and cognitive development. That research gives Lego an educational halo few toys can claim. Parents don't feel the same guilt buying Lego that they might buying a screen-based toy, and that trust lets the company charge a premium most competitors can only dream of. That trust nearly disappeared once. By the late 1990s, Lego had expanded aggressively into theme parks, clothing, and video games, territory far outside its expertise. By 2003, the company was losing money fast enough to threaten its survival, a business that had outlasted 2 world wars suddenly staring at bankruptcy. New leadership made a brutal call: strip the business back to the brick. They sold the Legoland parks to a licensing partner, cut unprofitable lines, and refocused entirely on what worked. That decision, depth over distraction, is now taught in business schools as one of the most disciplined corporate turnarounds on record. The recovery didn't stop at damage control. It set up the company's next expansion: China. When Lego entered the Chinese market in the early 2000s, it faced a country already flooded with cheap knockoff bricks. Instead of competing on price, the company built a factory in Jiaxing and bet that parents would pay more for an authentic, trusted name. The bet worked. China is now one of Lego's fastest-growing markets, with double-digit growth even as the global toy industry slows. Growth invited imitation, and imitation invited lawsuits. Lego fought years of legal battles, most notably against Mega Bloks, over the shape of the interlocking brick itself. When the original 1958 patent eventually expired, competitors were legally free to copy the design, and some did. But copying the shape didn't buy them the trust or the manufacturing precision behind it. The lesson holds today. The brick was never really the moat. The tolerance and the decades of consistency behind it was. That obsession with precision is now being tested by a new constraint: sustainability. Lego has publicly committed to producing all bricks from sustainable materials by the early 2030s, and has spent an estimated hundreds of millions of dollars chasing that goal. In 2021, the company scrapped an early attempt to use recycled PET bottles after tests showed the material couldn't hold the same 10-micron tolerance as standard plastic. It was an expensive failure, proof that even a company this size can't out-engineer physics on a deadline. The newest bet is stranger still. A brand that spent decades marketing itself as the screen-free alternative to video games is now partnering with them, building official content inside Fortnite and Minecraft, wagering that the next generation of builders will meet the brick on a screen before they ever hold one. It's a reversal that would have seemed unthinkable to old Kirk Christensen. It's also, in a way, exactly the kind of calculated risk he took in 1947. So what actually built a billion-dollar business out of plastic bricks? Not the plastic. Not even the bricks. It was one small tube, patented in 1958, that made every piece compatible with every piece that came after it. And nearly 7 decades of refusing to let that compatibility break. Every time a child snaps 2 bricks together, they're completing a system a bankrupt carpenter's son built, when he had every reason to expect it would fail.